Back to Harbaugh. It's been nearly 2 months now since Mitt Romney appointed a longtime aide to head up his vice presidential search committee, and speculation about who he'd pick is still going strong, obviously. But news today that Florida Senator Marco Rubio is not even being vetted. That's stirred a lot of noise right now. So who's in? Maggie Haberman's a senior political writer for Politico and Michael Steele's former chair of the Republican National Committee, and, of course, an MSNBC analyst. Maggie, you first here. ABC and the Washington Post have both reported today that Marco Rubio, who's the hotshot senator from Florida, is not even getting vetted. That's according to Jonathan Carl down there at ABC. He said knowledgeable Republican sources tell me that Rubio is not even being vetted by Mitt Romney's VP search committee. He has not been asked to complete any questionnaires or been asked to turn over any financial documents typically required of potential VP candidates. Rubio, by the way, appeared on CNBC this morning and wouldn't even comment about the VP process. But let's listen to him not commenting.
Have you heard from the campaign, and are you someone who will be the vice presidential candidate?
Well, as I've said repeatedly, I won't discuss the vice presidential process out of respect for Governor Romney. I know he's going to make a great choice, and I'm not discussing the vice presidential process.
Oh, did you already say that?
I did.
Okay. Well, later on home territory, here he is with Fox Sean Hannity. He asked Romney himself about news that Rubio hasn't been vetted. Let's watch Romney.
What did you make of the ABC News report this morning? Said Marco Rubio was not being vetted, but Governor Tim Pawlenty was being vetted. Any comment on that story?
I get a kick out of some of the speculation that goes on, and I'm not going to comment on the process, of course, but I can tell you this. Only Beth Myers and I know who's being vetted.
Okay, well, first of all, that's wrong, Maggie. Anybody who's being vetted, their accountants, their lawyers, probably their spouses do know. So the idea that he's in some zone of silence here that only he and the elite know about, if you're vetting people, their accountant, their lawyer have to know about it. They're helping you fill out these forms. Why would he say something so ludicrous as only I and his assistant, Beth Myers, know this, when everybody knows that's illogical?
I think he was trying
to... As Mr. Spock would say, illogical.
Thank you for that. I think he was trying to tamp down some of the anger that is existing out there among supporters of Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio's aides also, just like the senator did, won't comment on this at all. They won't touch it. But a lot of their supporters are touching it. They're very upset about it.
So he wants it
privately. Well, I think that they don't want to seem like they're being dissed. I mean, he's hanging out there alone today. It's not like this was a list of people who aren't being considered. It was Marco Rubio who's not being considered. Okay. And so I think that Mitt Romney was trying to deal with that, but I don't think that that was perhaps the best way to do it.
Okay, let's go on the edges. Move off of Rubio. He's not in the list. Let's go to these names. My three picks are as follows. Let me tell you, I think it's Portman because you can't win the Republican presidency. A Republican can't win without a high. Never happened. He's an economic heavyweight. He could be president tomorrow if you're a conservative Republican. That made me say, I think Jeb Bush, if they could ever get him talked into it, I think he'd be the nominee for sure. He brings in the most important swing state there is, Florida. Mm-hmm. He could be president tomorrow. He's vastly respected right across the political spectrum. But, of course, he's associated mostly with his brother. The third one is my dark horse, which is John Thune. I've always thought that
like John.
He's incredibly disciplined. He handled the defeat by Tim Johnson, came back and beat Daschle, does everything exactly the way he wants to. He's evangelical, not just Protestant. What do you think of the top three?
I like two of your three. I think Portman is still the lead person there. I would insert Tim Pawlenty or even a Bobby Jindal into that second slot.
Isn't Pawlenty too much of a moderate?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Pawlenty was a good governor. He still has
terrible candidate for president. He lasted about 3 hours.
That may be true, but it's a very different shoe.
Okay, your number one pick is.
Portman. Number two would be Pawlenty, and I do like John Thune for number three.
Let me get Maggie in on your picks if you dare to do this.
I dare to do it. It's actually not going to be that riveting. I have the exact same list as Michael. I mean, I think that Tim Pawlenty is very much under consideration. I mean, this is
how did he get to be the hot tamale this week? Why is it? Every one of my producers is talking about. Is that because he's all over with the guy? He's traveling around with him. What is that about?
It's a couple of things. It's they wonder whether he can put Minnesota in play, which whether that's realistic or not. That is something they think about. Number one. Number two, Mitt Romney likes him, trusts him. He's been out there very aggressively for him. It is non-threatening. This is a do no harm situation in terms of the way Mitt Romney's going to pick.
Do we all agree? Do no harm.
We all agree on that.
Yes.
So why do we all agree it's do no harm? You're not really trying to get a game changer. Let Maggie try first.
Maggie, go ahead.
Maggie, why would it be? Why do we all agree he's not going for a game changer like Palin?
I was going to say 2 words, Sarah Palin, because I think she's become the cautionary tale this cycle of what you don't do, which is frankly a little unfair. It's not like she was the first ever vice presidential pick that was slightly problematic, but I think that there was a question about whether she was ready to step into the office on day one. Romney thinks that's going to be one of the most important qualifications.
Okay. You know why quarterbacks throw the long ball? You know why they throw the ball at the buzzer in basketball? Because sometimes it goes in. Why would Romney not want to take a chance? Because he thinks he can win without it.
I think he can win. I think it's less about a Sarah Palin type pick and more about him. It's more about his personality, the kind of man he is, and the kind of presidency he wants to have, and the people he wants around him in that top spot reflect that. And I think
Nixon decided this, and not to knock him, but Nixon said in 6 days, it doesn't matter who I'm running with, I'm going to be the issue.
Well, that may be true, but that may not necessarily be the case here. If he throws that long ball, like you say, if he comes out with a Sarah Palin style pick, that then becomes the story. And Mitt doesn't want anything else to be the story but him. I think he wants this to be about how he's
which makes the case for Portman, because Portman is sort of doubling down on good economics.
Absolutely.
It
reinforces his underlying message.
Maggie, do you think it's important? I think none of the three of us are Protestants, but do you think it's important that you have a Protestant running mate? Is that important still in American politics for a Republican to have at least one Protestant on the ticket? He's LDS, he's Mormon. If he picks, he could pick, I guess, Jeb Bush is Catholic, he's a convert. Is that an issue anymore or not with people, or is it just yesterday?
I don't think it's a huge issue, no. I think there are areas where it plays, but I think that this is not going to be, in terms of the slices of the electorate that they're looking at, I don't think that's going to be what keeps people at home or gets them out.
Well, it's one thing I think about. I just dug up some stuff, positive stuff for him, that John Thune, besides being the lanky, attractive, very polished newcomer from out west, he's evangelical.
He's evangelical.
He does cover that card, which is important, as we know, in the South.
So is Tim Pawlenty, though. So is Pawlenty.
Is Pawlenty evangelical as well?
Yep.
He's from that
he, like Pawlenty, have good roots in that community as well as more broadly in the base of the party.
How come we never talk about the guy from Arkansas?
Huckabee?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want us to talk about him.
Because he's hosting a radio show right now.
That's right. He's got other things on his
It seems like he was always a big charmer in this. Anyway, here's a few names I don't think are going to make it. I wouldn't bet on them. Let's take a look at the names. Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan, New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte, and former Minnesota... Well, Paletti's already on the list, so I can't take him off the list. Well, let's go right back to you, Maggie, this time. What about the possibility of these sort of darker horses? Chris Christie, Paul Ryan, Kelly Ayotte.
One of the most interesting things in the last 2 days, in addition, obviously, to the Rubio bit, was the New York Times had a last couple of paragraphs in a story, I think they posted last night or yesterday or Sunday night, saying that Governor Romney has formed impressions about Governor Christie as he's doing this sort of VP auditioning with various people on his bus tour. Chris Christie hasn't been on it, but he's forming impressions nonetheless. And one of them is that Governor Christie is often late, was the line. And essentially, he had shown up late for a fundraiser that he was co-hosting with Mitt Romney. It ended up that Mitt Romney was the warm-up act for Chris Christie. I don't think that the candidate enjoyed that especially. I do think he is grateful to Chris Christie for the help that he's given him. He was an early endorser and he was an often endorser, but I don't think that he is of the impression that he would be sort of the top of the ticket in that respect. The attention would be on Christie. It just would.
And you're never late when you have to meet the boss.
You're never late when you have to meet the boss. And it goes back to the point I made about that person fitting into Romney's.
That's why I'm thinking Thune and Portman. So I think we've agreed. Everybody says Portman. That's the common bet here. Common bet. And the second bet is Pawlenty. My second bet is Thune, or you never know if Jeb decides he wants it. And you never know. He'd be unbelievable. That would be a game changer.
Warm up for 16, baby, if you need to do that.
It may not be a 16. If there's a 12, there's no 16, as you know.
That's right.
If they win this time, he's never going to be president if he doesn't get into the game now. Anyway, thank you. Remember what LBJ decided? He had to get aboard that team. Anyway, Michael Steele, it's great to have you on, especially when we're not arguing.
That's right.
And Maggie Haber, it's great to have you on. Anytime we can have you.